A prefab building. I think it was a Bay State home actually, and it went together. It was up and together within a day or two. It was amazing, and then after that, we just had to do everything ourselves to get it together. We were lucky because we had, I think we used local plumbers, local electricians, and whatnot to do the work in here. But then once we were putting the studio together, we didn't have any idea how to do it. We really didn't. I had computer background, but really computer background with this kind of stuff, and it was all analog back then, it didn't really help that much. We just had to learn how to buy equipment, plug it in, run wires. Oh my gosh, we ran wires, we were pumping holes into the cellar and running wires all over the place. And then it came to the help. And old Will Bro, God bless him, he was great labor. And he and I would come in and spend countless hours doing this. I mean, a lot of nights we were here till 10 or even midnight. Normal Liberty came in as one of our early camera people. And of course I had to train everybody, and it's kind of by the seat of our pants, learning how to do things. It was an awful lot of trial and error. The board of directors under Mary Brainy were great. They never held us back. Just said, do what you got to do and get this thing running, and we did. It was really amazing. I still remember one of the first nights that I finally got two connections working, and you know, a TV out there lit up with an image coming from a camera. And I remember one morning, I was teaching next door at Prouty here, and I was walking down the hall one day, and I heard just, "Hey, Mr. Proctor, I saw you on TV last night." It was the funniest thing in the world, but I didn't even know we had live broadcasts working. I didn't even know it was going out into the town. Bill Latola came over. And Bill is great. We did his music show, and it was fantastic. He and I'd come in after school, and we'd laugh and just have a ball doing it, you know. And like say, you started with the Board of Selectmen. In the beginning, it was difficult, but you know, because they knew they were being watched, right, and recorded. But as time went on, everybody just learned to relax with it and go with the flow.
Well, it's fall on the farm, and what better way to celebrate the fall season than to maybe carve a pumpkin, decorate your home with some mums and asters, or just decorate your home in general for the harvest season.
I'm Casey Danick.
Hi, I'm Lee Danick, and we were involved with SCA from the years 2001 to 2010.
I've always been a still photographer, enjoy that, still enjoy it to this day. And right around 2001, Spencer Cable Access had an open house, and my wife, Lee, mentioned, you should go. I did. Wayne Proctor, who was the station manager at the time, he told me about all of the kinds of opportunities that were here, and I thought, well, this could be interesting. I don't really do a lot with video, and it might be fun. It would be something new to learn. So I volunteered. I said, yes, sign me up. And I think almost immediately an opening for shooting the school committees was available. I filled that slot, and I think I did that almost all of the years that I was involved here. But I knew I wanted to do other projects as well. So I took upon a couple projects. One was Blooming with the Bemis, a show about gardening, and then Lee herself wanted to do a show about cooking, and we of course got people involved through Spencer Cable Access who would help with doing those shows, and I got the bug. I just love doing that kind of work.
My husband went to one of the meetings at SCA. He was a volunteer. He had already been doing school committee meetings. And he came home one night from one of the meetings and he said to me, "Oh, they want to do a gardening program and I decided to volunteer you to do the producing." I had never done producing before. I didn't even know what producing involved. But I liked gardening and I said to him, "All right, I'll give it a shot. We'll try one, see how it goes." Then we met Ed and Tina and got along with them great, two wonderful people. And producing became easy. They were very easy to work. They were professionals. They were used to talking with people, giving lectures and things. We did that for about a year, and then SCA sent out a questionnaire with the town census. Well, two responses came back that piqued my interest. One was from Sylvia Gruner and one was from Pam Leck, both from town at the time. And they both expressed an interest in doing a cooking show. Now this really got my interest because that was my passion, was cooking. So we got together and we formed Time in the Kitchen, along with Ed and Tina's help, by the way, because Tina actually was the one who picked out the name for the program. And they were in our first pilot program, which was all about breakfast, and we served them breakfast. And from there we just went on and just kept doing blooming and time side by side, two passions of ours, and just loved doing it. But now we do another one of my passions, and we tape this out at our new home, Uma's Cookie Jar, which you probably have seen. And it is my biggest passion, which is baking. I love to bake. I love to cook, but I love to bake. And we've been doing that program now for 7 years, and we're still doing it. I haven't picked out a retirement date yet, but we'll see what happens.
I genuinely think people really enjoyed watching the shows. I think that a lot of that comes from the talent that we had. Ed and Tina in the gardening show are just charismatic, enthusiastic, insanely knowledgeable about the subject, and they took instructions really well. I think they got it when I asked them to do certain things. And early on, one of the things that I wanted to add to the show, as kind of my own personal twist, was to add a 1 or 2 minute, almost theatrical piece to introduce shows, and Ed and Tina just loved doing that. It was a New England video competition, and the idea was to pick a show, take clips from the show, put them together and submit them. And so we did that. By then I guess we had 6 or 7 blooming shows under our belt, and we won first place. And the result of that was that Lee and I got to go up to Portland, Maine, where that year's awards were being given, and as the producer she got to go up on stage and do an acceptance speech, and it was all really a lot of fun.
One of the programs that I did for Uma's Cookie Jar that he put up on YouTube was how to make puff pastry from scratch. And I tried to simplify it. I want people to be able to see it's not as scary as it looks. And that program was done about 4 years ago. And last count that I saw, it was about 35,000 views. So I thought that was pretty good. I thought 35,000 people took the time to watch me make puff pastry. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Al Shedyak. I've been involved with Spencer Cable Access since 2002 to 2015-ish, I guess, somewhere in that neighborhood. I was driven here basically because I had 20 years experience on the finance committee. I saw what was going on, and I thought it would be a very good thing to do to have a cable access channel for the people of Spencer to see what goes on in these meetings, especially the selectmen's meetings. I started out with Wayne Proctor. I can remember the first day I came here. I met him in the studio, which is like a heck of a lot bigger and better studio now than it was. And we had one camera and a tripod and about 1 million miles of cable and about 8 microphones. And my first lesson was right here in the studio, as I said. Wayne showed me how to daisy chain the mics, showed me how to connect the mics to the camera, explained the camera a little bit, and off we went. We got down to the basement of the town hall for the selectmen's meeting. And back in those days, everything was done standing up. I stood up for the whole meeting behind the tripod. Wayne hooked it all up. He got the camera going. We looked at the camera together, and he got it rolling for 10 or 15 minutes. And he said, "Okay, see you later." And I was on my own. So it was kind of trial by fire, I guess. And that's how I learned how to take the shots for the camera.
Because I remember that when the Selectmen's Hall got wired up properly with a lot of the cameras, and Al Shediak, great guy, the greatest guy, he was wonderful. Just took that on as his own little baby, and with great pride. He was fantastic.
I think that viewing the meetings, viewing the selectmen and the finance committees and anything else that's going on, town meetings, you see firsthand what's really going on, because this is one of the good things about Spencer Cable Access. We do not, never did, and never will cut, edit, or anything else that we take as far as government information. So what you see is what really happens. If you take the time to watch it, at least you know what's going on, and you have it firsthand, and you have it as accurate as it can be, because like I say, nothing's ever edited. Please come and volunteer. It would be a great thing for you to do a couple of years, doing it, a couple of weeks, a couple of months, whenever you can, and that'd be a good thing. You'll feel a heck of a lot better about yourself, and you can look on the shows and say, "Hey, I was part of that. I was a cameraman for that," or "I set the sets up," or "I did the lights." Whatever it is, you get a certain amount of pride in knowing that you took part in some programming that people are watching, whether you're on the camera or you're behind the camera.
Bob and I started at the studio pretty much together. He'll talk about why we got involved. And we were there for about a year and a half, and Wayne Proctor was the station manager at that time. And then he decided to move along, and Bob encouraged me to become station manager. I do want to mention that, and I'm sure Bob agrees with this, and perhaps we'll talk about it a little bit, but we both felt that this was a great thing for the town, and it would put sunshine on politics, the town politics. We tried very hard to cover as many political aspects of the town as possible, selectmen's meetings, finance committee meetings, school committee, and any candidates, forums, any hearings that we could find someone to do the taping and so forth. So we felt that this was a great disinfectant, I guess we'll say it that way. When people know what's going on, then they make better decisions. And of course we had Talk of the Town with Peter Durant at one point. Bob did that show. And that was a way to talk about issues about the town and so forth.
During the course of my involvement, I thought it would be fun to do a show about Spencer issues, but not as a selectmen's meetings or that sort of thing. We decided on one called Feeling Good About Spencer. And as such, I could interview whoever I wanted about Spencer issues, and we had this highway superintendent, the local representatives, state senators, selectmen, whatever, different people, different times. We tried to do one each month, and then it would broadcast, and I requested picking a particular time of the day or week that it was on, so then I could tell people, Feeling Good's going to be on at such and such a time. Chuck and Mud, the singing group who gave us permission to use one of their songs on a program we did called Memories with Marty Simmons. For those of you who saw Marty on Memories, you knew him, Marty was probably, I used to say, one of the best raconteurs in Spencer. He could tell stories that you would find difficult to believe, but he did it so well they were interesting, and some of them were true, if not most of them.
I would like to talk about some of the volunteers. I'm not going to mention everybody, and we had probably, in the 12 years, we probably had between 30 and 40 volunteers. There were about 8 or 9 that were the core. And of course, Aaron, who I'm talking to right now, was our expert on editing and training. And as I say, I didn't know anything. So I think probably that was one of the good things, because I didn't know anything. I think probably the thing I brought to it was organization. I brought organization, and actually, I was thinking about it last night. I'm a teacher by trade, and teachers want people to be successful. And I was always thrilled when it went well for somebody else. Also, I want to mention Norm Liberty and his wife Dot. Norman was the type of person, he was very quiet, but if you asked him to do something, he would say yes or no if he was able to do it. And you never worried about it afterwards. I could ask him to do a school committee meeting, and he did do school committee meetings. A month later, and I knew I didn't even have to talk to him about it the day before. He was there. He was very, very solid person, and he did a lot of taping for us. And his wife Dot helped him out, and she helped a lot on the open houses, so both of them were terrific volunteers. And of course, I have to say Beth, our daughter Beth, because she helped us out immensely all the time, did lots of shows, did the Wicca program with Denise, did a great artist program with Deb Sundquist, interviewed the town departments, and covered the finance committee.
It was in 1998, 99. We took a trip to Alaska and came home with about 6 hours of videotapes that we had taken of anything and everything on the way. And nobody wanted to watch that. We didn't even want to watch 6 hours of tape. I thought I would really love to edit it down to a more reasonable situation, but I don't have the equipment to do it. And I thought, oh, I could get involved with Spencer Cable Access, and they would have the better equipment to allow me to edit the videotapes that cut out the junk and the part that we shouldn't have done anyway. Maybe even cut out the place where Carol accidentally had the camera running and did several minutes of her left foot. It's interesting, some of the things that you remember, going back, thinking back over the 20 years involved here. Went up and volunteered, asked Wayne Proctor, who was station manager at that time. The building had been built, and it was bare wall building with a couple of desks and shelves and whatever, and that was about it. But could I help out, and ultimately could I use his better equipment to edit my own stuff? And he said, yeah, sure. Well, as it turned out, I really never did do the Alaska tapes on studio equipment. By the time we got done, I ended up doing it at home on my own computer.
When we started, Wayne started the open house, and it was just an open house for people to come in and see the studio and so forth and so on. And it was, people came, but not a whole lot. So we were trying to find a way to maybe get together with some other idea and maybe promote it a little better. And I started thinking about the food pantry that Kathy Sullivan runs at St. Mary's, Mary Queen of the Rosary now. And so I said, well, maybe we could do a food drive. So that was how it happened when I became the station manager and we were doing the open house. We decided to have a food drive as well as the open house, and it went great. We had a great time. Had a lot of support.
One thing I also did enjoy was the annual open house, and for many years, starting with it, the first year, and maybe I'm going to guess probably half a dozen years, my job was cooking hot dogs. So you'd always see me out in the yard with my little Bunsen burners or whatever I had to use, and cooking hot dogs, because we had free hot dogs and free soda for people who came in and to enjoy the open house and to donate food for the food pantry, which is a good thing to do.
Some of the more interesting things were the barriers that we had to overcome along the way. since we were totally ignorant of how to do it, and we just sort of fumbled our way along. Doing a live broadcast sometimes got interesting because, for instance, when we did the open house for the studio, Carol came up with a bright idea of doing a food drive to try and publicize the food pantry and bring your food up to the studio at the time and deliver it to the people there. And this was great because it involved Kathy Sullivan and some of their volunteers and got them involved. So that was a lot of fun, but being prepared to cover it live was interesting because, again, we were sitting there with wires going out the window and across the handicap ramp up to the studio and down the steps and whatever, and several different camera locations out in the parking lot to cover the singers like Chuck and Mud that came along to help out.
But as far as the cable access for any town, I think it's a wonderful thing. It allows people in town to produce shows that they just thought would be kind of neat to do. They learn things, they have equipment, and pretty nice equipment to use that you never could afford yourself. But it allows people to create things and be artistic, and as artistic as they'd like to be. Some had very artistic programs and some just did straightforward stuff, and everything was great. And somebody enjoyed it, I'm sure.
Hi. See, don't put me in. Happy
20th birthday.
Happy 20th
birthday.
Do the thing again.
Oh, we better.
Happy 20th birthday, Spencer Cable Access.
Happy 20th birthday, Spencer Cable Access.
Happy
20th birthday.
Happy 20th anniversary, Spencer Cable Access.